The New York Mets have finally traded Freddy Peralta. We got rid of A.J. Minter. Freddy Peralta is the next domino to fall, going to the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for 3 prospects from their system. The Mets are getting Aidan Smith, Emilen Pitre, and Gill Hill. We're going to talk about all the prospects coming back to the Mets, as well as briefly what this trade means. Before we get going into it, make sure you guys are subscribed to Mets'd over here on YouTube for all the Mets content coming at you. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. I was hoping for a top 100 prospect. We did not get close to a top 100 prospect. It feels underwhelming, but I guess now with the context of the Tarek Skubal trade and just of what we've got from Freddy Peralta in general, I think this is actually probably the right package back.
I think this is a totally fine package. We've talked about it a lot heading into this trade deadline. I talked about it a lot on my channel recently, too. You don't really get many literal top 100 prospects trade at the deadline ever. What you're trying to do is get guys who can be top 100 prospects next year.
Yes.
That's kind of the goal of the trade deadline. I think the Mets got 1.5 prospects who have a chance to be top 100 prospects within the next 12 months. I think the big one is Emilen Pitre, a double
Emilen Pitre.
Emilia Pitre.
Emilien,
yeah. French. He's born in Montreal, which is unbelievable for a baseball prospect. 2 cold weather prospects here, which the Mets got, which I feel like they kind of love right now. But he's raking in Double A right now. Advanced approach from the left side, super elite hit tool. And it seems like they just probably think they can coax some more pull side power out of him. And then you have a left-handed hitting second baseman with plus hit and hopefully at least average to plus power.
Yeah,
and that's a fine profile.
I wish that we had some exit velos on these guys just so that we could get a little bit more of a sense of like what the raw power could look like. But I think the Mets are doing the approach that we've talked about before, where they're looking for guys with one very, very good trait and then hoping that they can build around the rest of it. So like you said, with Emilen Pitre, he is a contact king. He is striking out like under 11% of the time right now in Double A. He's walking a ton. He gets on base, doesn't chase at all, doesn't whiff, is super patient at the plate, hits a ton of ground balls, almost never pulls the ball in the air. But this is a contact-first guy that I would assume the Mets are hoping they can coax a little bit more power, like you said, pull side power, doing stuff in the air a little bit more, and can play second base. So that's what it felt like for me with Pitre.
Definitely. Just to give the stats at Double A this year, again, a 23-year-old, so average age for the level, can't really add much, so it's at least nice that he's destroying Double A, but 37 games there. It's a 323 average, a 450 on base, and I had to get my Discord off because that beeping was pissing me off, and a 492 slug for 155 WRC plus, only 3 home runs. Like you said, very little power, but 18% walks and 10% strikeouts. That's a guy that's very much too advanced for that level. It's not the same athleticism. It's not the same defensive value, but it doesn't strike me that differently. Going to try and watch some videos right now of him swinging the bat, of a profile to A.J. Ewing, where, again, it's like we want to make sure you could have an A swing where you could hunt for power when you need it because your hit tool and your approach are so good. We have no concerns with you working deep into counts and being in poor leverage spots in individual at-bats. So if we can actually get you to make A swings with power early in counts or when you have the advantage, you know you're getting something middle in, and you can eventually find 15 home run power with the rest of your tools, probably a plus player at some point.
Yeah, if you could just flash middling power, this completely changes the ceiling of a player that a guy like Pitre could be, which I guess we'll just wait and see. I love that you're saying the A.J. Ewing thing because I do think you see a lot of organizations do this. If they've had success with an archetype of player before, they look for those players again because they just have the proof that it's worked.
And at least he's a solid second base defender as well. Okay, we have some exit velocity data. Shout out TJ Stats for this. A 103 mile per hour EV90 and a 43% hard hit rate from Pitre at Double A. So that is a bit below average. That's also not that different from Jefferson Rojas, as we shouted out as a prospect. That was a fringe top 100 guy that we thought was like the best case return for Freddy Peralta. But I think, again, it's a breakout season from a guy who age level's not great, but growing up in Montreal and playing baseball at Kentucky, good baseball program, but is someone that you probably could expect a little bit more of a late-stage breakout. This isn't sexy, and again, this isn't a prospect everybody knows. He was someone that we live and breathe this stuff. We learned about him an hour ago, and that's just like. But doing this research in, I'm like, I'm not at all mad about this return whatsoever.
No, the other 2 prospects I have heard the names of, Gill Hill, I think has flashed at times before the last 2 years.
80 great name.
Yeah, 80 great name, absolutely. Gill Hill. I hope he does well just simply on the name. I want a Gill Hill jersey one day. But he's a name that's flashed on top 100s a couple years ago. I think he's kind of taken a little bit of a step back the previous 2 seasons in 25 and 2026. You mentioned he's a local kid. The thing with Gill Hill, we talk about traits and having some sort of, it seems like, elite trait that we can then build off of. all he does is throw strikes. He does not throw balls. He doesn't walk any guys. And the other interesting thing, too, here is that with the lack of walks, he does get a ton of chase, which is super interesting for a guy who gets almost no whiffs and no swing and miss.
You know what he's going to be?
What's he going to be?
An edgelord.
Edgelord, yeah.
He's deep pitch mix. I think he was throwing 6-ish pitches. The Rays have apparently tried to add velo because he came up as a skinny kid, another high school draftee from New Rochelle, so shout out New York for this one. I think he went to JFK. School,
JFK Catholic.
JFK Catholic, but he's someone that, again, seemingly slots into being a mid to back end rotation starter, where if you can find more swing and miss, which probably has to come from velocity or just slightly manipulating some pitch shapes, but seems like he has the ability to do that as a guy who's been able to pick up more pitches as he's been a minor leaguer. It's probably just, again, a fine back end dude. Like, let's try and do the thought exercise of comparing these two guys to Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat.
Was he the dude, by the way? Did he pitch for Team Great Britain and like look nasty like against Team USA for like 2 innings? Wasn't that a thing that happened? I think it was.
That happened. I feel like that Gary. This name is so funny.
Gary Gill Hill.
Gary Gill Hill World Baseball Classic.
Like, I feel like he had like a really good inning, and then because it's Team Great Britain, they left him in a little bit too long.
Yeah, he actually did.
Okay, good memory.
Yeah, good memory right there. Wow, funny enough, Team England, big England podcast, but it feels like it really doesn't feel like that bad of a return to me. I'm like kind of happy about this.
Like, I would have preferred the returns that we were talking about, but that doesn't seem like it was even remotely on the table. So it's like, get that out of our brain. Seeing this trade tells me that it wasn't even slightly close to that.
I called the Rays. I was on that
You did call
one.
the Rays. You called the Scooble package and you called the Rays. You're 2 for 2 so far.
Doing really good with this trade deadline so far. But also, there might have been opportunities for the Mets to get one better prospect. And maybe when push came to shove, David Stearns was just like, I think we actually might need some quantity over maybe the high-end quality. When this quality isn't even that bad. And Aidan Smith is just a toolsy outfielder. He was the other part of the Randy Rosarena trade, along with Brody Hopkins to the Rays. He run fast, hit hard, swing miss.
Yes, he and actually his whiff so far this year, I don't think has been okay. At high A, it was a little bit worse. But he's a super freak athlete. Same thing, looking for that elite tool. Again, I think we now know exactly what the Mets are doing this trade deadline. You've got one tool. How can we develop the rest? Aidan Smith is the freak athlete, center fielder. Hope that he eventually becomes Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah, and I think that's a fine third piece to look at if you were doing this. I think Freddy Peralta is going to be good again.
Probably is. Yeah, I wish the best for him. Go be great with the Rays. Whatever.
Yeah, go join a playoff staff where they need some innings right now. They have to figure out how they're going to weather the storm without McClanahan. Figure out how they can get Griffin Jackson, Ian Seymour to the playoff rotation, and Rasmussen. Like, this was a great matchup for these two teams. It felt like this was a good option. It felt like there was a pretty robust Freddy Peralta market.
At least a bunch of teams were interested. Now, considering what we heard about the White Sox return, Walkow and who was the other guy?
It was Boston Smith.
Was that Boston Smith? Would you have preferred that, or do you prefer this one?
I think I prefer this one here. Yeah. I mean, again, I think this guy Pitre is like just big helium, and we have someone moving in the right direction who looks like they can be major league caliber at something that might be a position of need next year.
I do also wonder if, like, for the Mets, getting all these guys who feel like they could eventually just be major league players, if that's something that they're considering more as a front office because they know that they're going to be able to spend to go fill in, like, the big boppers. I know that didn't work this offseason. We don't need to talk about that. But the idea is, like, if we need big players, we'll go and spend the money on them. Where we can actually make a lot of that money back is by getting a bunch of major leaguers who are going to be free on the back end of the roster. And this is what these guys feel like.
Yes, and this was the problem with this team going into this year, where it's like, oh, let's fill up with the Jorge Polancos of the world. Like, get out of that type of contract we've been begging the Mets to stop signing. 2-3 year deals are fine, usually always in a vacuum, besides when it's a player who hits worse than the pitchers when they used to be able to hit.
The pitcher with one arm.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just a funny conundrum. I think the world right now is jumping. LOL Mets, look how little they got for Freddy Peralta, but in a situation where he was here as a rental no matter what, you made the trade for him this offseason on one guy in Jet Williams who's gone straight down in value since he left your organization. And Brandon Sproat, who I still think the world's a bit divisive on. I still am a fan, but there's a world in 5 years from now that Pitre and Gary Gill Hill are more valuable than Sproat and Jet Williams.
I could back myself into it. I have more faith in Jet, but I know that he's struggled mightily this year. It just hasn't looked particularly good. But I still got the faith in Jet, especially in that org. I like the idea of Gill Hill and Sproat being similar-ish value players at some point in their careers.
Even getting to those spots in completely different directions with Sproat being
Yes.
like, I'm gonna throw bad shape fastballs right at you, but with nasty breakers, and Gill Hill just being an edgelord.
Being an edgelord. We need some more edgelords on this team. We also are expecting to hear a Huáscar Brazoban trade seemingly any moment
second.
now because he was on hug watch, giving handshakes to everybody in the bullpen. Seems like he's on his way out. I'm expecting more and more Mets news to come out, but you guys will probably not hear from us again because I can't imagine that there's a big enough player moved by the New York Mets that needs a video to drop instantly until Monday morning. If anything else happens from the time that this video drops, Freddy Peralta trade, to tomorrow morning, it'll be covered in tomorrow morning's episode.
Yeah, like we're going to come back on tonight and give something long. We're going to talk about the Marlins series and then talk about everything else that happens. Also, there's going to be a lot more that happens on Monday. So
Yes.
we'll probably do something else Monday night for you guys Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we're going to figure something out. There's going to be a lot of content coming at you guys. So make sure you are subscribed to Mets'd over here on YouTube so you don't miss out on that. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
And I'm Draftnik Mark. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets. Good return.
There is one place to be on trade deadline day. Watching Foul Territory, of course. AJ Przinsky, Eric Kratz, and Scott Braun will be live all afternoon, speaking with insiders, reading tea leaves, and reacting to unfolding deadline drama. Join us on the FT YouTube channel at 1 p.m. ET, and stay locked in through the 6 p.m. deadline next Monday. Foul Territory Network, it's baseball the way it should be covered.